it's Reagan, and today I'm here to do an important review video. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing Empire of Storms by Miss Sarah J. Maas, the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series, which is one of my favorite series that I've been reading on BookTube, and we are going to talk about it today, okay? I'm going to start this video with a small, and I mean very small, non-spoiler section, because honestly, if you're still considering reading this series and you haven't yet, you just gotta make the choice, man. There's already 5 books out, you know what I mean? So, moving into the non-spoiler section, overall, I thought this book was better than Queen of Shadows. I think it introduced, you know, more to the story, more to the world, more to the plot. I still think there are major plot and world-building plot holes that I just don't feel like are ever going to be addressed. The side characters in the story are absolutely phenom. I'm obsessed with all the women in this story, which I just love. But that being said, it was a very enjoyable read, but it had flaws, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's worth a read, but I'll leave that up to you. But let's just go ahead and move into the spoiler section, because holy crap, I have so much to talk about. The first thing I want to just touch on, which I feel like is kind of the biggest elephant in the room, and I think a lot of people who have been reading this series for a long time, and especially read this book, have been kind of saying a lot of the same things. There's just a clear and definite shift in this series where a lot of these flaws are coming from. The first 2 books feel like an entirely different series than the last 3 books, including Empire of Storms. Basically, how the world was set up in the first 2 books, how characters functioned, how the world functioned, is just entirely different to how it functions now, and the results of that basically make a world that and the results of that are seen in a lot of the characters. First, we could touch on Nehema just as a character, how she was totally sacrificed for, I still don't even know why. It was tried to be explained in this book, and I'm just like, that's what we're going with to you know, characterize why Nehema should be dead. And then obviously we look at a character like Kale, who's an integral part of the plot in the first 2 books, who's literally been sentenced to some sort of like backwater town that they mention every 30 chapters to be like, yeah, Kale might be doing this, which probably means he is, and he's gonna swoop in at the end of the last book with an army. Like, it's very much, the story just feels kind of disjointed, and I also think that can be seen and felt in Selena, I don't know how to say her name, her new name, character 2. In the first 2 books of the series, even like halfway through the 3rd one, she was this flawed, spunky character that we could all kind of disagree with a lot of the times, but she was very much a human feeling character. But now she's kind of transitioned to this plot type character. She exists and functions to just move the plot forward, and it kind of bothers me because I just don't feel connected to her at all. In fact, I found her chapters to be the least interesting to read from. I don't care about her relationship with Rowan at all. I don't really care about her as a main character. I really don't. And also there's just world building issues. The world was very small, and I always craved for more of a world in the first 2 books, so I'm excited that we're getting it. But it also feels like when we re-encounter some of these places that were mentioned in passing and now they're just this whole new place, it's honestly a little disorienting. A lot of times when they would find people from the past, go to places that have been mentioned in the past, I would be like, whoa, wait, who are these people? Where are they? I don't know where they are in relation to thee. Like, where are we going? It was just confusing. Basically, overall, I feel like this series just suffered from some growing pains. I think it was supposed to be one thing. We kind of changed courses to make it a bigger thing. And now, because of that, there's going to be some plot and world holes that are just kind of going to be impossible to fix. That are also going to be very obvious from a reader standpoint. But there's that. But I digress. I think that's kind of the main flaws of this series, at least for me reading through it. This is why the series is not getting 5 stars anymore, because there's just some flaws that I cannot unsee. But that doesn't mean I didn't like this story at all. Obviously I gave it 4 stars. Clearly, Sarah J. Maas has a skill with writing entertaining stories full of characters that you freaking love. And while I maybe don't love the main character as much as I used to, she used to be one of my favorite characters, and now I really don't have a lot of opinions about her, her side characters and her new characters are so interesting, because Elaine has to kind of function as this plot character. We have all these interesting side characters that are able to live in interesting ways that I like to read from. I have to say though, due to the fact they're so freaking many characters in this book series from all over this kingdom, all over this world. I do want to quickly note that I did feel like there was a definite lack of diversity. I just felt like there were so many opportunities for it that would have made sense and would have really had some interesting representation in the story, and it just didn't happen, which was unfortunate. But I have to talk about my favorite characters, and those are basically all the ladies. First off, I just want to talk about Manon, who is by far and away my favorite character, and she's been my favorite character since Queen of Shadows, basically. I just found her perspective and her story so interesting. Like, she just has a completely different perspective, personality, and way she does things than everyone else in the story, and it just makes her so cool. And I hope it doesn't change too much, and while I totally ship her and Dorian like hardcore, I have been for a while, and I'm really excited about where things are going, I don't want her to become all softy all of a sudden, because that's just not who she is. I want her to be compassionate, but I don't want her to lose her man and edge, if that makes sense. Also, Lysandra, like, dear God, I love that girl. She's just so loyal and passionate and loving, and just the female friendships in this story, I just have to laud Sarah J. Maas for, because they're just amazing. They support each other, they appreciate each other, they're loyal to each other, they speak up for each other, and I just love seeing that. And Lysandra is just one of the best friends a girl could have. Like, she's just amazing and loving, and I love her, and I love her power. I think it's so interesting and like so badass and so vital throughout the story. I loved her chapters too. And then obviously I need to talk about Elida, because literally I am so trash. Liz is too, and I've just been reading all of Liz's comments about Lorcan and Elida chapters, and I can't relate anymore, because I relate to that so much. My favorite romance, far and away, even past Dorian and Manon, who I love too, is Lorcan and Elida. They were my favorite chapters to read about. There's definite flaws with that relationship, but Sarah J. Maas just has a way, like I mentioned, about writing these obscenely masculine, territorial, obnoxious male characters that for some reason I fall in love with, and I fall in love with the female characters, and I love seeing them interact with each other, and I am so in love with them. And literally, I just want to reread their chapters. Like, I just want a whole book about them. Like, the only part about the next book, about the storyline of Rowan trying to go save Elena from Maeve, is going to be Lorcan and Elida like interacting again, because she hates him now, and I just like, I'm living for it. I'm just living for it. Moving on to larger plot stuff, I thought this story again did a better job of expanding the world. I mentioned previously, however, that I felt the world to be like a little confusing, and by a little confusing I was confused a lot. Like, I just had to like have refreshers constantly in my head, like, who is this, where are we, where is this in regards to this place, how are we getting there, blah blah blah. It was just, I was a little disoriented a lot throughout this book, which kind of hurt my reading experience, but that might be more on my end than Sarah J. Maas's end. Moving on to the actual plot of the book, I thought we gained some traction and lost some traction in a lot of way. And it's interesting because one of Selena, who I'm gonna call her Selena because I can never say her name correctly, opponents, political opponents, said about her in the very beginning of the book, I was hoping it would rectify throughout the book, but instead I started to agree with him. Basically, Darrow in the beginning of the book sat down with her and was like, you are not fit to rule. You're too rash. You're making decisions too based on your emotions. You're not building anything for this kingdom, or you don't even understand our people. And Mal, throughout the book, she, you know, gained them allies by calling in old debts and stuff. She really didn't grow as a ruler. She's not patient. She is rash, and she's always going to be rash, and I question whether she'll actually be able to be a very good queen. She's really powerful, which I think will help her politically ultimately. Like, I'm really going into the future with this, but I worry about her actual ability to rule, and I think she's kind of flawed in that way. Which, yeah. I thought the strength of this book plot-wise too was definitely the battle scenes. I loved specifically reading about Lysandra while she was fighting. It was just so interesting. The magic is just really well done and well written about. I like the combat. It's just interesting to read. I do think the politics has some room to grow. I definitely worry about how this ragtag army makes sense viably against such a strong foe, and I also was hoping we'd actually get more perspective from the foe, from Mororth, throughout the story, and we didn't really, since Manon left and Elida left, they weren't really there to learn and understand kind of the vastness of his armies, because if he's so big, I don't understand how this small army that we got at the end of this book can actually take them on. So that will be interesting. But overall, I thought this story was very strong in side characters. I think we improved a little bit on the main character end of the spectrum, but really the plot, the main characters were pretty good, the side characters were amazing, which ultimately made me give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm going to continue on with the series, and in fact this book made me really want to reread the first couple books, purely because I feel like I've just forgotten a lot of stuff, or maybe I'm just misremembering, or maybe it's actual like plot flaws, I don't know, so I just want to kind of reread, but that is a big undertaking. But yeah, these are all my disjointed thoughts about what is it called? Empire of Storms. Please let me know down below your guys' thoughts on the book. I would love to know. Anyway, yeah, I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!